The illusion of purity is one of the most successful marketing tricks of our time. Bottled water companies have mastered the art of selling trust, using words like natural, mountain spring, and pure, to convince consumers that what they're drinking is untouched, fresh and safe. Yet behind the beautiful imagery of snow-capped peaks and crystal streams lies a far less glamorous truth. Many bottled water brands that claim purity are simply repackaging municipal tap water, filtering it just enough to make it look clean, and then selling it back to consumers at hundreds of times the cost. This illusion has been built over decades, and it works because people have been conditioned to believe that if something comes in a sealed, branded bottle, must be superior to what flows from their own faucet. Companies know that clarity sells. Transparent bottles, minimalistic labels, soft blue tones subconsciously signal cleanliness and safety. Add a slogan like "From the Heart of Nature" or "Crafted for Purity," and suddenly that bottle becomes a symbol of health. But what many people don't realize is that these labels are often not regulated the way they assume. The term spring water can be used even if the source is a borehole near a spring. Purified water often means nothing more than tap water that's been filtered and ozonated. The image of pristine mountain springs and untouched glaciers is often a lie constructed by marketing departments, not a reflection of what's actually inside the bottle. Investigations and independent studies have exposed how misleading the bottled water industry can be. Some of the biggest names in the market, companies that dominate supermarket shelves, have been caught using local water supplies while charging a premium for supposed natural purity. Others have been found to contain microplastics, bacteria, traces of industrial chemicals. In one study, over 90% of bottled water samples tested contained microplastic particles, likely leaching from the plastic bottles themselves. The water that's supposed to represent health and clarity can be quietly carrying the same pollutants people try to avoid by not drinking tap water. What makes this illusion even more dangerous is how people emotionally connect purity with health. Many believe bottled water is cleaner, healthier, safer for their families. They associate it with lifestyle, wellness, and sophistication. The sleek design of a bottle can make it feel luxurious, but the contents can be no different, or sometimes worse, than what's available at home. This psychological manipulation works because consumers rarely question the source, trusting branding over science. Few ever check pH levels, mineral content, transparency reports. The result is blind trust in an industry that thrives on perception rather than reality. The irony is that the more expensive a bottle looks, the more likely people are to assume it's pure. Premium brands often charge extra not because the water is better, but because the image they sell feels better. They know consumers want to feel like they're making a healthy choice, even if that choice is based on marketing illusion rather than verified quality. It's the same psychology used in luxury fashion. Status over substance. In this case, purity becomes a status symbol, not a scientific fact. People could see where their bottled water truly comes from, much of the illusion would collapse. Many brands draw water from industrial areas, public water systems, or wells surrounded by urban infrastructure. Some even face legal challenges for overstating the natural purity of their sources. Yet, because the packaging is beautiful and the advertising persuasive, the truth rarely surfaces in public perception. The consumer sees a mountain, but behind that mountain is a factory. The consumer tastes coolness, but behind that coolness may be acidity and invisible plastic. The bottled water industry has learned that it doesn't need to sell water, it needs to sell the feeling of purity. That feeling is what keeps people buying, believing, and ignoring the fine print. It's an illusion so powerful that even when exposed, it continues to thrive. People know that bottled water may not be as pure as it seems, yet they still choose it because they've been conditioned to associate convenience and branding with safety. The illusion isn't just about what's on the label. It's about what the label makes people believe about themselves when they drink it. When it comes to bottled water, people often assume that familiar names mean safety, but the truth is that some of the most recognized brands in the world are the ones you should avoid. The illusion of quality is reinforced by sleek packaging, catchy slogans, and decades of advertising, but independent testing has revealed a very different picture. Brands like Aquafina, Dasani, Neste Pure Life, and Fiji Water are among those that have repeatedly come under scrutiny for what they actually contain and how they are sourced. The reality is that much of this water is far from the pure, natural refreshment the labels promise. What you see as clean hydration can often be a mix of acidic pH levels, microplastic contamination, misleading marketing designed to make you feel safe while cutting corners behind the scenes. Aquafina, owned by PepsiCo, is one of the most popular bottled water brands in the world, yet it has faced criticism for being nothing more than filtered tap water. The company admits its source is public water systems, but the packaging and branding give the impression of a pristine mountain origin. Consumers are paying for a brand, not for purity. Tests have shown that Aquafina often has an acidic pH level and contains microscopic plastic particles that come from its packaging. The same goes for Dasani, Coca-Cola's bottled water product, which uses similar purification processes. Dasani adds minerals like magnesium sulfate and potassium chloride to create a crisp taste, but these chemicals can give the water a metallic flavor and leave it far from natural. Both brands have mastered the art of selling ordinary tap water dressed in luxury branding. Nestlé Pure Life is another case where reputation hides reality. Once a dominant player in the bottled water market, Nestlé has faced multiple lawsuits and controversies about its water sources. Tests have found traces of microplastics and other contaminants in its bottles. Even worse, the company has been accused of depleting local groundwater supplies in regions facing water scarcity. Consumers who believe they are buying a healthy, responsibly sourced product may unknowingly be supporting an industry that drains ecosystems for profit. It's a reminder that the words pure and life on the label don't guarantee purity or ethical sourcing. Then comes Fiji Water, the luxury brand wrapped in tropical imagery. The sleek square bottle and exotic origin story have made it a global status symbol. Chemical tests show that Fiji water is often acidic, with a pH around 6.9, which can disrupt the body's natural hydration balance over time. Despite its reputation as premium, it is no more beneficial than regular filtered water. Even Evian, another famous high-end brand, has shown elevated nitrate levels in certain tests, a sign of agricultural contamination. While these brands are marketed as elite, the science tells a different story, one that's less about quality and more about presentation. The same trend continues across other major labels like Poland Spring, Crystal Geyser, and Smartwater. Poland Spring was accused of misleading consumers by claiming its water came from a genuine natural spring, when it was actually drawn from common groundwater wells. Crystal Geyser faced reports of arsenic traces, a potentially dangerous contaminant. Smartwater, on the other hand, uses a vapor distillation process that removes beneficial minerals, leaving the water acidic and empty of natural nutrients. These examples reveal how branding manipulates perception. The words smart, pure, and natural are strategically chosen to sell trust, even when the chemistry inside the bottle tells another story. The reality behind these names is that what people pay for is not purity, but the illusion of it. Big corporations understand how to build emotional connection through familiarity and aesthetics. The blue hues, clean fonts, serene imagery are psychological triggers that make consumers believe they're drinking something better, something safer. Yet behind that image lies a profit-driven industry where marketing often outweighs safety and presentation overshadows quality control. The brands people see as trustworthy have, in many cases, been proven to be among the most questionable when it comes to what they actually deliver. Most people believe that water is the purest thing they can put into their bodies, but the hidden dangers lurking in bottled water tell a far darker story. What appears clean and refreshing can actually be a slow form of contamination, a silent infiltration of toxins that accumulate in the body over time. Scientists and health experts have warned for years that microplastics, fluoride, bromate, and heavy metals are showing up in bottled water at alarming rates. These contaminants may not change the color or taste of the water, but their effects are deeply internal, working quietly inside the body, influencing everything from hormones to organ function. The tragedy is that people drink bottled water to stay healthy and hydrated, unaware that some of those very bottles may be compromising their well-being sip by sip. Microplastics are one of the most widespread and concerning contaminants found in bottled water. These are tiny fragments of plastic that break off from the bottle itself, or enter during the bottling process. Studies have shown that over 90% of bottled water brands tested worldwide contain microplastics, with particles often invisible to the human eye. Once inside the body, these plastics can pass through the digestive system and enter the bloodstream. Over time, they can accumulate in organs, disrupting hormonal balance and causing inflammation. Researchers believe that long-term exposure to microplastics may contribute to fertility issues, immune dysfunction, and metabolic disorders. What's worse, the smaller the plastic particles, the more easily they can invade cells and alter biological functions. Another hidden threat is fluoride, which some bottled water brands add intentionally under the belief that it helps strengthen teeth. While fluoride in small amounts may be beneficial, chronic exposure from multiple sources, including bottled water, toothpaste, processed foods, can lead to fluorosis, bone weakness, and thyroid disruption. In some brands, fluoride levels exceed what is considered safe for daily consumption, turning what should be a neutral hydration source into a chemical cocktail that silently alters the body's internal chemistry. Then there's bromate, a byproduct that can form when bottled water is disinfected with ozone. Bromate is classified as a potential human carcinogen, meaning prolonged exposure can increase the risk of cancer. Some bottled waters have been recalled after testing positive for bromate contamination, yet many others still sit on shelves without consumers knowing their potential danger. The bottled water industry thrives on the perception of purity, but its reliance on industrial purification methods often creates new risks that are just as harmful as what those processes were meant to remove. Heavy metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury have also been detected in bottled water samples from multiple countries. These metals are highly toxic even in small concentrations and tend to accumulate in the liver, kidneys, and brain. Over time, they can cause chronic fatigue, cognitive decline, and organ damage. Arsenic, in particular, has been linked to cancers of the skin, bladder, and lungs. Yet many bottled water brands continue to operate near legal limits, knowing that as long as they meet minimum regulatory standards, the average consumer will never question what those limits mean for long-term health. The cumulative effect of these contaminants can be devastating. While a single bottle might not cause harm, consistent exposure over years creates a slow buildup of toxicity in the body. Hormones begin to shift, energy levels drop, the body's detox systems become overwhelmed. People may attribute these symptoms to aging, stress, or diet, never realizing that the healthy, bottled water they trust could be part of the problem. The irony is painful. Water, the very substance meant to cleanse and sustain life, can become a carrier of invisible poisons. The bottled water industry rarely addresses these issues openly. It relies on consumer trust, marketing imagery, and the assumption that clear water means safe water. But behind the glossy labels and mountain logos lies an uncomfortable truth: expensive bottled water does not equal purity. Instead, it can deliver a toxic mix of plastics, metals, and chemicals that quietly erode health over time. Each sip might feel refreshing, but the damage it can cause happens slowly, beneath the surface, until the body starts to show the cost of what it has been absorbing all along. Choosing safe bottled water requires more than trusting a brand name or the imagery on a label. The truth is, many consumers never look beyond the design of the bottle, assuming that if it's packaged beautifully, it must be pure. But safety in bottled water comes down to science, not marketing. Understanding pH levels, mineral content, and sourcing methods is essential to protect yourself from hidden contaminants and maintain proper hydration. Every bottle of water you drink should be helping your body function better, not exposing it to acidity, plastic residue, or synthetic additives disguised as minerals. Knowing how to identify safe bottled water is not just a matter of preference, it's a matter of long-term health. The first thing to understand is the importance of pH balance. The human body thrives in a slightly alkaline state, and the water you drink should support that. Bottled water with a pH level between 7.5 and 9.5 is considered ideal because it helps neutralize acidity and supports overall hydration. Many mainstream brands, however, fall below that range, leaning toward the acidic side with pH levels between 5.5 and 6.9. Drinking acidic water regularly can alter the body's natural pH, making it more prone to fatigue, inflammation, and mineral depletion. Alkaline water, on the other hand, can help neutralize acid buildup in the bloodstream, aid digestion, and enhance the body's ability to absorb nutrients. Checking the pH level printed on the label, or testing it yourself, is one of the most reliable ways to determine if a bottled water is truly healthy. Next comes the source of the water itself. The safest bottled water comes from verified natural springs or deep underground aquifers, where it's naturally filtered through layers of rock and sand. This process enriches the water with minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, which are essential for muscle function, bone health, and maintaining electrolyte balance. Unfortunately, many commercial bottled water brands don't use real spring sources at all. Instead, they rely on municipal tap water, which is filtered and then marketed as purified. While purification removes certain contaminants, it also strips away beneficial minerals, leaving the water dead. Clean in appearance but empty in nutritional value. Always look for clear sourcing information on the label, preferably with the exact location of the spring or aquifer. When brands are vague about their source, that's often a red flag. The mineral composition of water is just as important as its purity. Safe bottled water should contain natural traces of essential minerals, not artificially added compounds. Calcium helps strengthen bones and teeth, magnesium supports nerve and muscle function, and potassium maintains fluid balance. When these minerals occur naturally, they're more bioavailable and beneficial. But when they're artificially introduced during processing, the body may not absorb them efficiently. Bottled water that lists added minerals for taste often indicates artificial enhancement rather than natural composition. True spring water doesn't need additives, its mineral balance is naturally optimized. Packaging also plays a major role in safety. Plastic bottles can leach chemicals, especially when exposed to heat or sunlight. Compounds like BPA, bisphenol A, and other plasticizers have been linked to hormone disruption and metabolic disorders. The safest bottled waters are stored in glass bottles or BPA-free plastic. Glass is the best choice because it's non-reactive and preserves the water's purity without risk of contamination. If glass isn't available, always check for a BPA-free label and avoid reusing single-use plastic bottles as they degrade over time and increase the risk of microplastic contamination. A few brands have consistently maintained high safety standards, earning trust through transparency and testing. Companies like Mountain Valley Spring, Icelandic Glacial, Eternal Water, and Essentia have shown stable pH levels, natural mineral balance, and verifiable sources. Their production processes prioritize purity without sacrificing nutrition, setting them apart from the corporate brands that focus more on volume and image than on health. But even then, it's wise to stay informed, as water quality can vary depending on geography and bottling conditions. Ultimately, choosing safe bottled water means educating yourself and developing the habit of reading labels critically. Don't fall for terms like vapor distilled, ionized, or purified without context. Instead, look for pH balance, mineral content, and source transparency. Water should be more than just clear, it should be alive, mineral-rich, and free from industrial manipulation. When you choose water based on science rather than advertising, you protect your body from hidden toxins and give it the hydration it truly deserves. Water sustains life, yet few people realize how much their health depends on the quality of the water they drink. Every sip either nourishes or harms the body. Understanding this difference is the key to long-term well-being. The bottled water industry has convinced millions that clear water in a sealed container must be safe, but awareness is the true form of protection. The human body is more than 60% water, which means the type of water you consume influences every cell, organ, and system within you. If the water you drink carries hidden toxins, acidic pH levels, or chemical residues, then your body is absorbing those same impurities. The awareness of what's inside your bottle can be the difference between vitality and slow internal decay. Most people don't question bottled water because they associate it with purity and convenience. Yet this blind trust is exactly what corporations rely on. They know that few will read beyond the marketing language, few will test the pH or check for microplastics, and fewer still will research the brand's water source. Awareness begins with skepticism. It's about refusing to assume that price or popularity equals safety. True awareness means looking deeper, checking for transparent sourcing, reading the fine print, and understanding that not all clear water is clean water. It's the difference between being a consumer and being a conscious guardian of your own health. The human body thrives when it's properly hydrated, but hydration isn't just about the quantity of water, it's about the quality. If the water you drink is acidic, your body has to work harder to restore balance, pulling minerals like calcium and magnesium from your bones to neutralize the acid. Over time, this creates fatigue, joint pain, and mineral deficiency. If the water contains microplastics, they can lodge in tissues and organs, triggering inflammation and hormonal disruption. If it carries traces of heavy metals like lead or arsenic, they slowly accumulate in the liver and kidneys, silently damaging them. The more aware you are of these dangers, the more control you have over your health decisions. Choosing safe water is not just a matter of physical health, but of mental discipline. Awareness transforms the act of drinking water from a passive habit into a mindful choice. Each time you pick up a bottle, you are either trusting marketing or trusting knowledge. Once you understand what makes water safe, its pH balance, mineral content, purity, you begin to see through the illusions that have shaped consumer behavior for decades. Awareness doesn't mean fear, it means empowerment. It gives you the ability to make choices that protect your body from invisible harm and align your habits with real wellness rather than surface-level appearances. The bottled water industry thrives on ignorance, but awareness shifts the power back to the individual. When people start questioning labels, researching sources, sharing information, companies are forced to improve their standards. Every informed purchase becomes a small act of resistance against deceptive marketing. Collective awareness can change the entire market because it forces accountability, reminds corporations that purity isn't a design choice, it's a responsibility. Health begins with what you consume daily. Water is at the core of that foundation. You can survive weeks without food, but only days without water, which shows how vital this choice truly is. When you become aware of what's entering your body, you begin to notice the connection between what you drink and how you feel. Energy, mood, digestion, even skin health are all influenced by hydration quality. Awareness gives you the clarity to recognize that real purity isn't sold in plastic bottles with catchy names. It's found in the choices you make with intention and care. The more you understand what's hidden behind the labels, the more you realize that safe hydration is an act of mindfulness. Awareness turns water from a commodity into a conscious practice, one where you no longer drink blindly but choose wisely. It's the understanding that not all water gives life, but the right kind can restore it.